Let's solve x squared equals 12x plus 10. So the first thing I'm going to do is get it in the proper form. And I'm supposed to solve it by completing the square. So proper form is the x's on one side, constant on the other. So we'll have x squared minus 12x. This is equal to 10. Now, I got an even number here, so this is going to be straightforward. I think I'll take half of this, which is negative 6, and I'll square it, add it to both sides. Now I'm going to write that. It's going to be x squared minus 12x, and then I'm going to add negative 6 squared to both sides. So I'll get 10. Now negative 6 squared is 36. So let's just write it. Now the left side factors like this, x and then half of this. That's why we did that, so that it works like this. X minus 6 squared is equal to, all right, 46. Now I've got something squared equaling a number. Let's square root each side. So I'll get square root of x minus 6 squared equals square root of 46. Square root of the square on the left side is the absolute value of x minus 6. Now, square root of 46, do you know any perfect squares that will go into this? Like 4, does 4 divide into 46? No. Does 9? No. Does 16? No. 25? No. So I think we're just stuck with that square root of 46. Now, remove the absolute value. This is when you get the plus or minus. One more step. Add 6. X equals 6 plus or minus the square root of 46. There's our two answers. Do you see the two numbers here? You get x equals 6 plus square root of 46 and x equals 6 minus square root of 46. Number 12, we've got x squared minus 8x plus 25, and we're asked to solve it by completing the square. So I'm going to get it in the right form. All the x's on one side, constant on the other. So let's take that 25 to the right side by subtracting it. So we'll get x squared minus 8x, I'm going to leave it blank here, equals negative 25. Now, I'm going to put something here and something here, right? I'm going to add something to each side, and that something is going to be half of this squared. So take half of the negative 8 and square it. Half of negative 8 is negative 4, right? So I'm going to write it like this. Oh, let me change that. So this is going to be x squared minus 8x, and then plus, I'm going to take negative 4 squared, right? Just take half of this number and square it. So there's half of negative 8 squared. Now, that's going to be negative 25. Now, negative 4 squared is plus 16. This side we've created to be this, x minus 8, no, we didn't, x minus 4 squared, right? What goes in here? Half of this. And that's equal to, now negative 25 plus 16 is negative 9. Now I have something squared equaling a negative number, so this I know is going to be imaginary, right? If you square something and get a negative, it's going to be imaginary. So we're going to get i's here. So take square root of each side. Square root of the square root of negative 9. On the left side, the square root of the square, that's the absolute value. So I get the absolute value of x minus 4 equals, now I've got a square root of negative number. So bring the I out, and the square root of 9 is 3. This one happens to simplify nicely. Now, remove the absolute value. This is where you get plus or minus, not before. X minus 4 equals plus or minus 3i. One more step. Let's add 4. So we'll get x equals 4 plus or minus 3i. There's our solutions. And you see the two numbers here? X is equal to 4 plus 3i, and x is equal to 4 minus 3i. 13 says to use the quadratic formula to find the exact solutions to the following equations. Then it says, after writing the equation in standard form, identify A, B, and C. All right, so here's what we have. Our equation given to us is x squared minus 7x equals 44. Now, standard form is everything on one side, 0 on the other. So let's get this 44 over here by subtracting it. So we'll have x squared minus 7x minus 44 equals 0. Now, a is the coefficient of the of the quadratic term. So the standard form is this: ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So a is going to be that coefficient, b is that coefficient, and c is that constant. So a is equal to 1, b is equal to negative 7, and c is equal to negative 44. So let's solve it. I've got a, b, and c. Now, I wrote the quadratic formula here. X is equal, I'm using x because that's our variable. So x is equal to this: the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Now, here's a, b, and c. So let's just substitute. So we will get that x is equal to, all right, this fraction here. Now this says the opposite of b. What is b? B is negative 7. Now I'm going to fill everything in. So I'll get the opposite of b, negative 7, plus or minus the square root of b squared. That's going to be negative 7 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 44, all over 2 times a, which is 1. All right, now it's just a matter of arithmetic. So we will get x is equal to, opposite of negative 7 is 7, plus or minus the square root of, now negative 7 squared is 49. Now what is this? Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 44 is plus, I did on my calculator, 176, all over 2 times 1, which is 2. I'll do it up here at the top right. X is equal to 7 plus or minus the square root of, now 49 plus 176 turns out to be 225. Very nice, over 2. X is equal to 7 plus or minus, it turns out the square root of 225 is 15 over 2. So x is equal to two numbers here, 7 plus 15 over 2, and 7 minus 15 over 2. So x is equal to, how about 22 over 2 and negative 8 over 2. Very nice. X is equal to 11 and negative 4.